Certain stories grab you because they're so bizarre, so far outside normal life, they linger in your thoughts. Alien abductions are exactly that. Tales of regular folks swept into something otherworldly, something that defies explanation. Today, we're diving deep into the most gripping cases, from the first widely known abduction to modern stories that still fuel debate. We'll explore how these accounts began, how they grew into a global phenomenon, and what they mean for us now. So, grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's wander into the strange, shadowy world of alien abductions. It starts in 1961 with Betty and Barney Hill, a couple from New Hampshire whose story became the gold standard for abduction cases. They were driving back from a vacation in Canada late at night on a deserted road when a bright light caught their eye. It wasn't a plane or a star. It moved too fast, too erratically. They pulled over, and Barney, curious, grabbed binoculars. What they saw was no aircraft. It was a glowing, pancake-shaped craft with windows, and inside were figures. Not human, gray-skinned, with large, dark eyes staring down at them. What happened next is hazy. The Hills drove home, but 2 hours of their night were gone. Missing time they couldn't explain. Their clothes were torn, their watches frozen. Betty started having vivid dreams of being taken aboard that craft, examined by those beings, and shown a star map. Barney, who initially brushed it off, began recalling similar details under hypnosis. Their account, pieced together through therapy, described medical tests, strange tools, and a sense of being studied like lab specimens. The Hills weren't chasing fame. As a mixed-race couple in the 60s, they already stood out and just wanted a quiet life. Their story blew up because it was so detailed, so consistent, and so unsettling. The Hills case wasn't just a story. It came with evidence. Their car had odd magnetic readings, and Betty's dress had a mysterious substance on it. Skeptics argued it was stress or a shared hallucination, maybe tied to their interracial marriage. But believers pointed to Betty's star map, which she drew under hypnosis. Years later, an astronomer suggested it resembled Zeta Reticuli, a real star system. Pure chance? Possibly. But the Hills' account set a pattern. Strange lights, missing time, and beings with a purpose. It wasn't a one-time thing. It sparked a wave of stories that would change how we think about the unknown. That wave hit hard in the 1970s, when abduction reports surged. One case that stands out is Travis Walton's from 1975. Walton was a logger in Arizona, working with a crew in the forest. One night, they spotted a glowing object hovering above the trees. Walton, bold, or maybe just curious, got out of their truck and walked toward it. His friends watched in horror as a beam of light struck him, lifting him off the ground. Panicked, they sped off, only to return and find him gone. For 5 days, Walton vanished. Police suspected his crew of foul play. Maybe they'd killed him and made up the story. Then Walton reappeared, dazed, with a tale that sounded straight out of science fiction. Walton claimed he'd been taken aboard a craft, surrounded by small, gray beings with oversized eyes. He also saw taller, human-like figures who seemed to be in control. Unlike the Hills, Walton had witnesses, 6 co-workers who all stuck to the same story and passed polygraph tests. Walton wasn't a publicity seeker. He shied away from the limelight. His case turned into a book and a movie, Fire in the Sky, though the film exaggerated some parts. What makes it compelling is the corroboration. Multiple people, no obvious reason to lie, and Walton's own quiet insistence on what he experienced. These early cases defined the abduction phenomenon. They shared common threads: people taken from cars, homes, or even their beds encountering short, gray beings with big heads and black eyes. Medical exams were a recurring theme, often invasive, like the aliens were cataloging human biology. Some abductees recalled being shown visions of Earth's future, wars, disasters, or ecological collapse. Others got messages about peace or warnings about humanity's trajectory. It's striking how these stories from unrelated people across the globe align so closely. By the 1980s, abductions were everywhere. Books like Whitley Strieber's Communion became bestsellers. Strieber, a horror novelist, claimed he was taken from his cabin in 1985 by beings he described as both terrifying and strangely familiar. His book, with its haunting cover of a gray alien, brought abductions into the mainstream. Suddenly, people were sharing their own stories, missing time, odd scars, or memories of being probed. Researchers like Bud Hopkins and John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist, dug into these cases. Hopkins used hypnosis to uncover buried memories, while Mack argued these experiences might reveal a reality beyond our science, maybe even a spiritual or interdimensional one. Skeptics had a field day. They argued abductions were psychological, sleep paralysis, false memories, or cultural influences. The 80s were steeped in sci-fi films, UFO mania, and Cold War paranoia. Maybe people were channeling their anxieties into alien stories. Sleep paralysis, where you wake up unable to move with a sense of someone in the room, could explain a lot. Critics also slammed hypnosis, saying it could implant fake memories. But believers pointed to physical traces, unexplained scars, alleged implants, or cases with multiple witnesses. The debate turned into a battleground, and it's still raging today. Let's dig deeper into the cultural side. Abduction stories didn't just stay in books. They shaped movies, TV, and even music. Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977 leaned into the idea of aliens contacting humans, while The X-Files in the 90s made abductions a pop culture staple. These stories tapped into something primal: fear of the unknown, curiosity about what's out there. They also reflected the times. In the 60s, the Hills case came amid space race fever and civil rights tensions. In the 80s, Strieber's story hit when people were freaking out about technology and nuclear war. Abductions became a way to process big, scary changes. Now, let's jump to the 1990s when things got weirder. One standout case is Kelly Cahill's from 1993 in Australia. Cahill, a mom of 3, was driving with her husband when they saw a craft with glowing figures inside. They felt an eerie calm, then blacked out. Later, under hypnosis, Kelly recalled tall, thin beings with red eyes, not the typical grays. She felt a physical force, like a field, and found a triangular mark on her body. Her husband and other witnesses nearby reported similar sightings. Cahill wasn't into UFOs before this, which makes her story stand out. It also added a twist. Not all abductors fit the gray alien mold. Another case from the 90s is the Allagash incident from 1976, but widely publicized later. Four friends canoeing in Maine saw a bright light over the water. They blacked out, woke up on shore, and found hours missing. Years later, under hypnosis, they described being taken aboard a craft, examined by gray beings, and subjected to strange tests. All 4 told near-identical stories, even when questioned separately. Skeptics called it a campfire tale gone wild, but the men's consistency and lack of profit motive make it hard to dismiss. The internet changed everything in the 2000s. Forums like Reddit and Above Top Secret let people share abduction stories anonymously. Patterns kept showing up, abductions running in families, like aliens were tracking generations. Some claimed aliens were breeding hybrids, mixing human and alien DNA. These ideas sound crazy, but they're consistent across cultures, from rural Brazil to urban Japan. In 1994, a Zimbabwe school incident added weight. Dozens of kids at Ariel School claimed they saw a craft land and beings approach. Their stories, told in interviews, were eerily similar, with no signs of coaching. Let's look at a lesser-known case from 2009 in South Africa. Elizabeth Clara, who'd had earlier encounters, published Beyond the Light Barrier, claiming she'd not only been abducted, but had a child with an alien named Akon from a planet called Meton. Her story mixes romance, spirituality, and sci-fi in a way that's almost too wild to believe. Yet, Clara's detailed descriptions of alien tech and culture, plus her calm conviction, give it a strange credibility. South Africa's UFO community still debates her claims, and her book remains a cult classic. What about the science? Researchers like David Jacobs argue abductions are real and part of an alien agenda, maybe genetic experiments or colonization. He's studied hundreds of cases, finding patterns like hybrid programs. On the flip side, psychologists like Susan Clancy say it's all psychological, a way to cope with trauma or stress. Sleep paralysis, cultural priming, and suggestible hypnosis could explain a lot. But then you hit cases with physical evidence, marks, burns, or in rare instances, alleged implants removed and studied. No implant has ever been proven alien, but their composition often baffles scientists. The legacy of abductions is massive. They've fueled pop culture for decades. Think Stranger Things, Taken, or even Marvel Scrolls. They've also pushed science to grapple with big questions. Are we alone? Could other beings visit us? John Mack's work at Harvard suggested abductions might point to a non-physical reality, like a shared consciousness. Others, like Carl Sagan, argued they're modern myths, our way of replacing demons with aliens. Both sides have a point, but neither has the full answer. Today, abduction stories keep coming. Social media makes them easier to share, but also muddies the water with hoaxes. Still, credible cases pop up. In 2017, a Canadian trucker claimed he was taken from his rig, left with burns and a memory of gray beings. His story, backed by dashcam footage of odd lights, got traction online. Researchers now use tech like MRI scans to study abductees' brains, looking for trauma markers or unusual activity. Results are inconclusive, but the search goes on. So what do we make of all this? Alien abductions are a riddle wrapped in a mystery. They could be proof of extraterrestrial contact, psychological phenomena, or something we can't yet grasp. From the Hills in '61 to today's viral posts, these stories challenge our reality. They make us question what's possible, what's out there, and what it means to be human in a universe that might be far stranger than we ever imagined.